Oh shit! This isn't gonna work. I mean, Jesus Christ. Okay, so I had this idea like literally 3 minutes before the start of the show. So I did zero preparation, which is maybe not a good thing. Like, there's definitely preparation that could have been done. Here's where we're at, though. Here's what I want to do for the rest of tonight. Let's play Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective. This is a board game that I have talked about, that I know Kyla has played. And so Kyla maybe is going to be in a little bit of an assisting kind of a role, if you want to stick around for this. Decide how much you want to be involved. But this is a cooperative board game that is played mostly out of the books. There's very little actual spatial play. And so it seems to me, having not actually played it yet, that this is a game that lends itself really well to being played collectively over chat on a Twitch stream. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna try out a case of this. I think that they're geared to last about an hour to 2 hours, and I'm guessing the first one's shorter than most. But it might take us longer because we're going to do a lot of reading out loud, which if it was a multiplayer game, I guess you would do anyway. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Oh, let's do anyone but Tin Soldier. Okay, Tin Soldier is not the first one. So my plan is to do the first one. Yeah, case 1, which takes place on March 12th, 1888, and is called The Munitions Magnate. And the way that this we never took less than 5 hours. Well, let's see. We're gonna see how this fucking goes. I'm not gonna do case 3. I'm starting at the beginning. Honestly, largely because I figured this is the one that was play tested the most. So here's the way that this game works. We're gonna have to like figure some of this out as we go. I do have rules that we can consult. We have a newspaper for March 12th. So I believe that we are free to consult this newspaper as much as we would like. And it's got just like a bunch of... It's very much a newspaper. This is pretty cool, actually. It's like... it's just got a bunch of different little stories on it. On the front and on the back. You know, on the 2nd March at the British Embassy, Paris, Lieutenant General Napier Campbell to Caroline Margaret Duff, daughter of the late Deputy Surgeon General Charles Murray Duff. That's under marriages. And then, you know, personal and etc. Charles Wilson of Texas, please send address to Godfrey C's family, Sloane Street, Post Office SW. This is so funny to look at this and think about what nice newspapers used to be like. Because there's a requirement when you incorporate a business, at least in California, that you need to post for like I don't know, 7 consecutive days or something in a local newspaper about the incorporation of your business. And that today makes no fucking sense. Like, it's a nonsensical thing to do. It has no purpose because the way that newspapers work is so different from what it used to be. But actually, if this is what a newspaper was, it seems like that is not an unreasonable thing to require. So anyway, we've got a newspaper from the day. We have a map of London. looks like this, and it is marked out in sort of game board terms, so with lots of like numbers and things that correspond to stuff. Well, I guess not corresponding exactly, but we also have a directory, a London directory of addresses. Following directory is a listing of most of the characters you will encounter in this case. Listing are alphabetical by name and by category. So, for example, you'll find Charles Addard listed alphabetically, Addard Charles. You will also find him under the category barristers. Oh shit, with different... okay, so he has a personal residence and also a business address. And those are different, and so maybe are actually like, you know, we could go and find him in different places. Anyway, we can look people up so that we can call on them, and then there are 10 cases in the thing. Each one looks sort of like this, and this is it's a big book, and it's going to give us sort of the start of the case at the beginning, and then. After that, it is a bunch of like little narrative bits that we can get from going places and interviewing people or investigating areas. So, and that's going to be our big thing, is basically like making decisions about who do we want to go talk to, where do we want to go investigate, where do we want to get more information. And then we are scored at the end by how many Jester, if you have a link for the newspaper, I say put it up. That would be great. That would be real good. Okay. Okay. So, I'm going to read the beginning of this thing. Oh, yeah, sorry. So at the end, we're scored on how many steps, basically, it took us. How many clues did we have to look for, or how many, like, different avenues did we go searching down before we came up with an answer. And then once we have an answer, we check to see if our answer is correct. And it won't be, but whatever. And then if it is, then we take the number of steps that it took us to get there, and that is our score. And then we are scored against Sherlock Holmes, which is like, basically how did he solve it? How did he figure it out in the fewest possible steps, essentially. Yeah, I think the only newspaper that we should have, and please, if that link goes to multiple of them, please only look at the first one, is London, Monday, March 12th, 1888. So that's our newspaper. I'm going to read the beginning of this thing. Oh, I just realized that this is no longer the game that we're playing on this Twitch stream. Hold on, can I change that? How hard to change that? Moobot, do you understand? Do you understand Consulting Detective? I'm curious about this now. Sherlock Holmes, Consulting Detective. You do. Okay, changed. Here we go. Case 1, The Munitions Magnet, 12 March 1888. Despite the lateness of the winter, March is still roaring like a lion. In fact, just as we alight from our cab in front of 221B Baker Street, a derby hat skitters by, propelled by the fierce wind. In close pursuit is none other than Wiggins, chief of the Baker Street Irregulars, and, after Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes' most able assistant. I thought this was written from Dr. Watson's perspective. It says we It's in the first person, but it's not from the perspective of... Oh! It's from the perspective of one of the irregulars who is not Wiggins. Got it. Okay, Wiggins, chief of the Baker Street Irregulars, and after Dr. Watson, Sherlock Holmes' most able assistant. Before we can join in the chase, Wiggins manages to halt the flying bit of finery with a deft stroke of his umbrella. Cramming it squarely on his head, he saunters back toward us. "Hello," he says cheerily. "It would appear that Mr. Holmes is summoning the troops. Shall we?" With the point of his umbrella, a very versatile tool it appears, Wiggins stabs the doorbell. It is several moments before Mrs. Hudson answers. After a brief exchange of greetings, she sends us on our way to Holmes's apartment. Above, we find Holmes and Dr. Watson sitting at a table, engaged in earnest conversation with a gentleman in his late 40s, expensively dressed, yet somewhat rumpled in appearance. "Warm yourselves," says Holmes, "and I will explain my reasons for calling you out on such a bitter morning." Coats and hats, the font that this thing uses, I don't know if you can see it at all, is italicized. It's not italicized, sorry, it's script, in order to suggest like a Victorian era handwriting, but in a way that the H's look a fuck lot like B's, and it trips me up every time. So like coats and bats are immediately sped. There is a distinct pop as Wiggin removes his derby, and a rush is made for the fireplace. In due course, introductions are made, and the gentleman is identified as Mr. Richard Allen, brother of the late Courtney Allen, president of the Grant Arms Company. "It is the recent death of Mr. Allen's late brother," says Holmes, "that occasions his visit to us. Briefly, Courtney Allen was found shot to death in an alley behind his office on the evening of March 9th, at approximately 7 p.m. by the constable on patrol. Scotland Yard has put the crime down as a simple robbery, by person or persons unknown, largely due to the fact that the victim's wallet was found empty near the body, and his gold pocket watch was missing. Mr. Allen was just telling us a bit about his brother when you arrived. Please continue, Mr. Allen." Well, Courtney was a dynamic individual, always busy, forever on the move. Yet he had the unique ability to make 10 minutes spent with you seem like an hour, so complete was his attention to you. Of course, his charm worked like a magic potion on the ladies. "You said he was married?" asked Watson with a raised eyebrow. Oh yes, poor Beatrice. "Was involved in an affair at the time of his death?" "Oh, was he? Was he involved in an affair at the time of his death?" asks Wiggins. "Yes, I believe he was. But I have no clue." It actually says I have no do, but it is clearly meant to be clue. See, even they can't decipher this stupid script. But I have no clue as to who the lady might have been. You see, the night before he was killed, I popped round to his office at about 5:30 and managed to coax him to supper at Keen's. We were there but a short while when Courtney begged leave. He indicated that he had an important meeting, said "Auf Wiedersehen," and winked. That wink meant a woman. "Is the company financially sound?" asks Watson. "Oh, quite. A fine investment for anyone's portfolio. You see, the company was founded as a small gun shop some 70-odd years ago by our great-uncle, Thaddeus Grant. It catered to a very elite clientele. Most of the chaps in the regiment were equipped with pistols from Grant's," nods Watson. "Why, Braxton. You've heard me speak of Braxton, Holmes. He had a pair of the finest dueling pistols, blah, 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 blah." "Yes, Watson, pray continue, Mr. Allen," interrupts Sherlock Holmes. "Courtney, always fascinated by firearms, apprenticed himself to Uncle Thaddeus. When Thaddeus died in 1873, he bequeathed the business to Courtney. While maintaining the original shop and its tradition, Courtney expanded into the international arms trade. With loans and the sale of public stock, he was able to build a plant at 12 Deverell Street. and for the manufacture of heavy ordnance. Today, the firm is debt-free and very profitable. Of course, a drop in the share price occurred with the news of my brother's death. Who has ascended to the presidency? Asks Watson. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I wish I could subtitle this. Sorry. The name of the company is the Grant Arms Company. Okay, who has ascended to the presidency? I mean, we can go back and, like, look at any of this stuff again as much as we need to. I think. I don't know the logistics of that, but we'll figure it out. Who has ascended to the presidency? Asked Watson. Courtney's picked successor, Philip Marlowe, the second vice president. And why not the senior vice president? Young Lord Raglan, who runs the Deverell Street plant, is a brilliant technician, but a most inept businessman. Who inherits your brother's stock? His wife, Beatrice. Now I think we might examine the effects found with your brother. So saying, Holmes turns his attention to a briefcase and a large brown envelope. So, we've established so far. Dude got murdered. His stuff was stolen, so it's presumed a robbery. He's married but having an affair. Had lots of affairs. He was the president of a successful company. There have been 2 people named on the board of directors. One who might have been assumed to be his successor, and the other one who actually succeeded him. And then, of course, also his wife. So, a briefcase and a large brown envelope. It looks as if some sharp object has been used on it, comments Watson, referring to a long gouge on the leather of the briefcase. Yes, and it's practically brand new. I gave it to Courtney for his last birthday, January 6th. As you can see it is locked. The police found it that way. Courtney kept the key on a chain attached to his watch fob. The watch, of course, was stolen. The vice presidents, the 2 people were Philip Marlowe, who was the second vice president, who was Courtney's picked successor. And then the senior vice president was Lord Raglan. Yeah, I do actually, if somebody who feels fleet-fingered and socially generous wants to take notes in the chat, you are more than welcome to do so. It would probably help a lot of people. Okay. So the briefcase has been gouged. Although it is practically brand new, I gave it to Courtney on his last birthday, January 6th. As you can see, it is locked. The police found it that way. Courtney kept a key on a chain attached to his watch fob. The watch, of course, was stolen. Holmes retrieves a long piece of wire from the coal scuttle. After gaining Alan's permission, he inserts it into the lock and, with a quick flick of his wrist, springs the lock open. He pulls out 2 folders for our examination. Each is filled with company papers and is coded to indicate its contents. One marked MB-C, for instance, concerns various coal mine leases. Okay. Another, marked S-87-V, contains a listing of sales to the U.S. government during the preceding year. That maybe was a U instead of a V. It's impossible to tell. Holmes then empties the contents of the envelope onto the table. The inventory includes spectacles and a case, a ruby ring, a gold wedding band, a keychain with keys, an empty wallet, a small notebook, and a note. And it is printed here, an image of some of these items. The notebook is apparently a date book It is... Oh, Jesus. All of this is fucking illegible. Thursday, March 8th, which is... Today is Monday. So this is last Thursday. This is like 4 days ago. Thursday, March 8th. Bishops, 8:30 p.m. Bishops something, 8:30 p.m. Betty's mother's birthday. Betty's mother's birthday, maybe? Friday, March 9th, the following day. Plant, 8 a.m. Surprise! Exclamation point, exclamation point, exclamation point. Captain Egan, 8:30 p.m. Saturday, March 10th, the following day. Brixton's Mine, 10 a.m. U.S. Embassy, 3:30 p.m. Sunday is blank. There is a receipt from a hatter in Chelsea called Clark & Sons. 1 Victoria hat, £10. And then there is a note that says SP10 Spaniard tonight 10 p.m. and it's signed A.M. I don't know if you can see. What did I take down my... Hold on. I got no monitor here. There we go. This is what I'm looking at. So you can see it is not easy to read, but I think I got all of that right. Okay, seizing on the notebook, Holmes observes, "Can you tell us who Captain Egan might be, Mr. Allen? I've never heard the name. And Billy? Billy is Courtney's secretary." Who the fuck was Billy? Is that Billy and not Betty? Okay, so Thursday, March 8th, where it says Betty's mother's birthday, that might be Billy's mother's birthday. Billy is Courtney's secretary, William Linhart. Holmes compares the writing in the notebook with that of the note. They appear to be identical. He nods and says, "I believe we have enough to begin our investigation." After Allen has gone, Wiggins comments that his hand gestures were most intriguing. Combining infinite subtlety with tremendous force, it is easy to imagine that he has no trouble making his wishes known on the floor of the London Stock Exchange. "I don't recall Allen giving out his occupation," says Watson, puzzled. "No," replies Wiggins, "but certain phrases he spoke, coupled with the penciled notations on his left shirt cuff, stock prices surely, led me to conclude that he was a stockbroker." Jesus Christ! "Bravo, Wiggins! Well, Watson, our young man has come a long way since the days when you described him as a dirty little street urchin, eh?" That's the most socially inept thing you could possibly say. "Thank you, Mr. Holmes, but after all, I was taught by the master." "True," says Holmes matter-of-factly. "Quite true." Alright, so that's where we start. That's the information that we have. We've got that and the newspaper. Newspaper has, let's see, no, it does not list the death in its deaths. I don't see anything here that's interesting or relevant. Massage and electricity. Perfect instruction in the most approved system given by a lady. Experienced practicing under the first medical men in London. Terms 4 lessons, 2 guineas. Patient attended. London and vicinity, Mrs. E. That's weird. Dr. Sari's magic elixir. Incredible remedy for a large variety of ailments. Cures cough, colds, and throat ailments of all types. Okay. Here's a lost earring, offering a reward. Lost, a collie dog, black with tan eyebrows and paws and white ruff. Wound on right cheek, name on white metal plate attached around a leather collar. Oscar Teven, 16, Charing Cross Road, Northwest. Anyone taking the dog back to that address will be rewarded. What's the name of the dog? Doesn't say. Wimbledon meeting. It's about sports. Oh, but it looks like it's about like a shooting tournament of some sort. Oh, okay. Can we confirm the date on the newspaper? Date on the newspaper is Monday, March 12th, 1888. So, we got a bunch of potential leads, right? Let me pull out the rulebook. We got a bunch of potential leads, and I think that we can follow up on any of them that we would like. Choose a lead from the current case. For example, I want to visit the scene of the crime. Find the address in the directory and go there. If the lead doesn't exist in the book, meaning there's no corresponding paragraph to the current case to the location the player wanted to visit, then simply choose a different lead. When you've found your lead, the player reads the paragraph out loud, notes that this lead has been followed. Player then passes the book. Newspapers, already explored lead, directory, unlimited access. You can also reread leads already visited, discussions. That's pretty much it, is what it says. Allies. Also found among his papers were notes from an 1886 lecture given by Holmes to Wiggins and other members of the Baker Street Irregulars. Lecture covers Holmes' view of London and many personalities who were of help to Holmes and who would be to the Baker Street Irregulars. That's weird. Okay, so then there's a lecture. Oh, maybe I should read some of this. Maybe I should read some of it. I'm just going to read the highlighted bits, which seem to be the important ones. So, St. Bartholomew's Hospital, known as Bart's, is 38 EC on the map. Coroner's Chief Medical Examiner, Sir Jasper Meeks. There's the Scotland Yard Criminology Laboratory, and H.R. Murray, who works there. But also Scotland Yard is a valuable source of information. Office of Records. Somerset House contains the Office of the Registrar General of Births, Deaths, and Marriages, and the Probate Registry. There's the Criminal Court, Old Bailey. There is a young barrister, Edward Hall, who you'll find most days at Old Bailey, who is a cut above all the other unimaginative members of his profession. Then there is Gray's Inn, Lincoln's Inn, and the Temple. Gray's Inn, Lincoln's Inn, the Temple. These are 4 great inns. Oh, because the Temple is divided into 2. Got it. Are corporations for the study of law, possessing the exclusive privilege of calling barristers to the bar. So, like law schools. Or law guilds, barristers guilds. Porky Shinwell is not a pillar of society, but he is a man who has learned from his mistakes and is trying to start a new life on the right side of the law. So he's our guide to the underworld. Fred Porlock, is a member of Moriarty's criminal organization. He communicates with me by post or by leaving a message, usually in code, at Parsons and Sons Toy Shop. That is fucking crazy. Okay. Henry Ellis of the Times and Quentin Hogg of the Police Gazette are reporters. Brother Mycroft. Langdale Pike is a person who usually gets in the last word. He's a human reference work on social scandal, especially in the London scene. So he's the gossip reporter. Central Carriage Stables is much valuable information on people's movement by talking to cab drivers. And then the London Library for reference materials. Okay. Oh shit, I could have just looked at the back page where it listed all of that out. Okay, so suggestions of where we want to start. I see questions in the chat. The wife did it, duh, case closed. I like it. I like it. Did we find out? Yeah, so all of those specialists who are really sort of generalists are going to be available on all of the cases. So if we want to like find out more about the condition of the body, maybe we could go to I was gonna say we could go to the hospital, but we would actually want to go to the morgue, and I don't know that the morgue was on that list. But there was if we wanted to know something about, I'm trying to think, like, in this case, what is interesting. Okay, so if we're trying to figure out, like, who he left and went to meet when he left his brother, maybe we could go to the carriage house and talk to the cab drivers and see if they have any information, for example. Alien Ashtray, thank you so much for subscribing. That is very sweet of you. Yeah, I feel like there should be a coroner. Criminologist, coroner. Oh, yeah, yes. So if we wanted to know more about the state of the body, we could go to the coroner. But we could also go find his wife, or either of his two business partners, or Captain. Who was Captain Egan? That's a different book. I think he didn't know who Captain Egan was. Oh no, he didn't know who Billy was. I have never heard the name Captain Egan. We don't know who Captain Egan is. Billy is the secretary. So those are all people that we could investigate. I'm going to look up Egan in our directory and just see if there's any information about him. A, B, C, D, E. Egan. I don't see it. I'm gonna make sure I'm spelling it right. I'm not. E.G. Egan. There's a John Egan. So Captain Egan is somebody that we could pursue. Crime scene. That seems like a super reasonable thing. So really quick, March 8th, which is last Thursday, it says Bishop's F, I think. Bishop's F, 8:30 p.m. Billy's mother's birthday. Friday, March 9th, it says Plant, 8 a.m. Surprise. Captain Egan, 8:30 p.m. And then on Saturday, March 10th, it says Brixton's Mine, 10 a.m., U.S. Embassy, 3:30 p.m. The murder occurred March 9th, approximately 7 p.m. So, Friday night. He never made it to Brixton's Mine or the U.S. Embassy. It was 7 p.m., so an hour and a half before his appointment with Captain Egan. He was apparently killed. And... what was it that he said? I'm trying to find the bit where he was talking about the woman was involved in an affair at the time of his death. The night before he was killed, he went out to dinner with his brother and then apparently went to meet a woman. So that would have been Thursday, where in the date book it says Bishop's F, 8:30 p.m. And then also Billy's mother's birthday. So, no bees in this case. So let's go to the crime scene, because I agree with Kyla. Crime scene seems like a good place to start. This all sounds good. Okay, so surprise seems to be associated with plant 8 a.m. It says plant 8 a.m. next line surprise, and then there's a little bit of a space, and then it says Captain Egan 8:30 p.m. It looks like that, more or less. That's what that says. Okay, so crime scene. I bet that is listed in here somewhere. Actually, figuring out where the crime scene is a little bit of a... Oh, wait. Hold on, guys. Hold on just a second. I was just looking at the newspaper to make sure that there wasn't a report of the death, which it seems there is not, indeed. But there is an item on the back that says Arms Trade Fair closes, which I only mentioned because the business that this guy ran was an arms business, or it was at least related to arms. The International Arms Trade Fair, which opened at the Royal Agricultural Hall March 4th, closed yesterday with a 21-gun salute to the Queen, which reverberated around the city. The closing ceremonies began earlier in the awarding of gold medals for excellence. Accepting 5 medals on behalf of the Krupp Works was the Countess von Schulenburg, bride of 5 months to the German military attaché and the archetype of the fair-haired Rhine maiden. A gold medal... He was having an affair with her. I bet you anything. Gold medal was also awarded to the Société Bacri Frères, which accepted by Émile Zobar, French military attaché. Hector del Guerra, military attaché to the Spanish embassy, stirred the large crowd with a magnificent speech. The affair was marred by several demonstrators sporting anti-arms placards. Alexei Meshkov, Russian military attaché, was struck in the head by a tomato. That's pretty great, actually. Okay, so I am gonna eventually want to look up what's her name. But But in the meantime, how the fuck do we find the scene of the crime? So, that was not following a lead. That was just in the newspaper for the day. I'm trying to see. So it says when he was killed, in an alley behind his office. So we could probably find it on the map, actually. Let's go ahead. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna find. So, what the fuck was this dude's name? No, Courtney Allen. Courtney Allen's office. How do I look up arms dealer in here? Like, that seems kind of weird. Doctors, parks, settlement, houses, guns? Gunsmiths. Grant Arms Company. 5 EC. Alright, and then I pull out the map. And EC is, each section sort of has a label. So EC is up here. And 5 EC is probably just the thing that I'm going to look up, honestly, but... Where the hell's 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. What? Oh, 5. There it is. Yeah, there's not really... I think it would be 5 EC. So that's what I'm going to look up. 5 EC. These are not labeled super well. I mean, I guess I sort of understand why, but it's tricky because I really don't want to look at any of the other things. Okay, 5 EC. By prearrangement, we meet Constable Beadle behind the Grant Arms Company in the alley parallel to Leonard Street. I noticed a strange lump in the alley. I knew right off that something was amiss. My instinct for the out of place, you might say. Watch your step there. The cobbling hereabouts is in a bad way. Many a jagged edge just made for tripping a man. We have strolled 30 feet or so from the base of a stairway, that leads to the offices of Grant Arms to arrive at the juncture of a T formed with another alley that leads to Old Street. It was right here, and sad to say, it was not a lump at all. Now, the victim was lying on his back, the force of the bullet having thrown him backwards. The briefcase was lying right beside the body, waist high. The wallet was lying a few feet away. The victim's overcoat was thrown open and his pocket watch was missing, but part of the chain was still attached to the vest. He was quite dead, but there was still some warmth in his bare hands, so I couldn't have missed the blighter by much. Now, I figure a perpetrator must have hid in that shed just up this second alley. When the victim approached, he jumped out and fired point blank. As you can see, it's but 5 feet from the shed to where the body lay. Perpetrator must have hid in that shed just up this second alley, jumped out, fired point blank. It's like right there. We thank Constable Beadle for his time and trouble. Oh, this is a long one. He goes back on patrol, but we linger a moment longer at the scene. From the shed, Wiggins calls to us. Seems both Scotland Yard and our perpetrator have been quite careless. His open palm reveals the remains of a cigarette. On it are the letters B and H in gold leaf. The tip end is pinched evenly all around. I have no idea what that indicates. B and H, huh? What was the name of the company again? It was something Grant, right? Grant's arm company. Okay. So I don't know what B&H is. Beaming, Wiggins suggests that we adjourn to the offices of the Grant Arms Company to interview Allen's private secretary, whose name was Billy, or William, which was maybe Billy. I don't know what B&H means still. Our unorthodox means of entry via the back stairway startles a young man we meet in the corridor. Oh, I get it. So because of the way that this is set up, there's only one entry for each location. So this entry needs to cover the case where I want to investigate the scene of the crime, but also the case where I want to investigate his office, because the crime happened right outside of it. It's the same location. So we're going to do sort of all of the information in all of those places. Okay, our unorthodox means of entry via the back stairway startles a young man we meet in the corridor. Fair-haired and pleasant-featured, he turns out to be William Linhart. Who is the secretary. After introductions are made, we are seated in Linhart's office. Wiggins asks him a question that has been nagging at all of us since the beginning. What the fuck was Mr. Allen doing in the alley? Anytime he worked after hours, which was often, he would leave by the back way. It was a short walk to Old Street, where the traffic was heavier and a cab more likely to be hailed. So anyone who had passing knowledge of Mr. Allen's habits, company employees, or even business acquaintances, would certainly have been aware of that practice. Yes, that's so. Okay, so anybody who knew him could easily have planned to murder him in this alley. That evening, Mr. Allen was scheduled to meet with a Captain Egan at 8:30. Can you tell us who Captain Egan is? He is the ordnance officer in charge of purchasing for the Admiralty. Okay, so business meeting. That makes sense. Do you know what the meeting was about? He and Mr. Allen met often to discuss the special project undertaken for the Admiralty some months ago, but I was unaware of that particular meeting. Mr. Allen regularly delivered progress reports, but always during the day, and I always made the appointments. I remember that Mr. Allen asked me to put the SP number 10A folder into his briefcase. It surprised me because I was not aware of an appointment with Captain Egan. Could you tell us about the special project? It is very secret, but I suppose I can say that it involves the development of a new type of naval gun. Were there problems with the project? None that I am aware of. Mr. Allen was very concerned about security, though. While we do sell arms to foreign powers, there are certain weapons that are reserved exclusively for our own government. Special Project Number 10A was such a one. Was Mr. Allen's concerns over security based on a significant incident or centered on a specific person? The existence of the project was common knowledge, so I'm sure he expected a certain amount of spying. He called in Lord Raglan to discuss the matter. Raglan is the senior vice president who was not promoted. After several strange people were seen hanging around the Deverell Street plant. Why would the plant be under surveillance? All the technical data, blueprints, formulas, that type of thing are housed there. Our offices are entirely administrative. So the Deverell Street plant is something we could investigate further, where the factory where the guns are actually made. That's awesome. Okay. Our offices are entirely administrative. Mr. Allen's brother believes that he was having an affair at the time of his death. Realizing that this is a delicate matter, would you know who the lady might have been? No, I don't. Over the years, I have always known about Mr. Allen's peccadillos, but only in the most general way. We would be working and something would trigger a cryptic remark that obviously had to do with his personal life. For example, just after the International Arms Fair opened, he received a scented letter on pink stationery. Later that day, he was dictating a memo to Lord Raglan when he stopped and picked it up. He took a full whiff of it and said aloud, "Women often marry for a title, but they don't necessarily fall in love for one." Then he laughed and went on with the memo. I mean, clearly having a fucking affair with the German princess. You're now secretary of the new president, Mr. Marlowe? That's a question? Yes, he was Mr. Allen's hand-picked successor, which perfectly illustrates the kind of man Mr. Allen was. There was no love lost between them, and yet, recognizing Marlowe's outstanding business acumen, he named him as his heir, so to speak. Thank you, Mr. Linhart. You've been very helpful. So, the junior vice president who took over the company hated the guy who got murdered. Who's the German princess? Countess von Schulenburg, bride of 5 months to the German military attaché. Definitely having an affair. Okay, so that was 5 EC. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down here. That was our first investigation. Okay, what next? What do you think, people? That brought up... so the junior vice president who is now president is an interesting person. The B&H cigarette. I don't know what to make of that. I don't know what B&H means. Hi, Eve. Smoking shops. Ooh, smoking shops is interesting. And not forget that we have the coroner, a criminologist, the police in general, archives of various things, lawyers, taverns about illegal affairs and all criminals. I'm going to say no, this isn't an underworld thing, I don't think. Well, I mean, there's no evidence yet that it's an underworld thing. Journalists, government. Mycroft might be interesting, actually, because he has information about government, and this guy had relationships with governments. Society columnist. I think we just confirm what we already know. Central Carriage Stables, library at the librarian. And Sherlock Holmes will also help us out, but he will probably laugh at us when he does. Yeah, I should have a whiteboard cam. That's probably true. So, smoking shops. Let me look up tobaccories. Embassies. There is a German embassy. We could go there and investigate that. Furriers, jewelers, restaurants, tobacconists. Benson and Hedges tobacconist. Now, here's the question that I have. So somebody who bought cigarettes at this tobacco shop murdered this dude. But that's probably a lot of people, right? Like, are we gonna do like a lineup? Like, how? I mean, I guess we could find out the type of clientele that this place has. Like, is it diplomats? Because that would suggest one thing. Is it like a merchant class? Because that would suggest another thing. Is it... I don't even know. Something else. It seems like those are the classes that we're really dealing with. Yeah. That Jester, that is exactly what I am doing. I feel like is I just looked up tobacconists and found Benson and Hedges, and I am assuming that that is where the cigarette came from. I just don't know. Oh yeah. Oh, good point, Kyla. It's also possible that our dude is the one who smokes Benson and Hedges, and so that isn't any kind of a lead whatsoever. Like, they might just say, like, oh yeah, what's his name? Casey, Carrie, Courtney. What was it? Was it Courtney? It was Courtney. Courtney is the one. Okay, there are some solutions that can be found by looking through the whole directory to match initials. That is crazy insane. I am, like, kind of on my affair theory. I don't know that it was... Well, so it seems like the affair... Actually, no, I take it back. Okay. I don't care what kind of business this dude is in. He is a married man having an affair with an important person's wife. It seems like that opens up motive for both his own wife, the attaché, the German attaché, whose wife he is cheating with, and possibly also the German woman that he is cheating with. So, that seems like the most likely set of motives, right? Like, it could be business related, but we don't know that he was up to any kind of shady business. It seems like he was just a legitimate businessman, and everything went super normal. We know that he was having an affair, and that seems like... Okay, so... important husband guy might not know that he leaves via the alley, but his wife would, and... I mean, his wife could, and his mistress also could. There was a wedding ring... Wait, there was a wedding ring in the briefcase? Oh, right. You are 100% right. Holmes opened up the briefcase and found the wedding ring. And also some other stuff. Oh, shit. Oh, shit, guys. Okay. All right, wait. Hold on. All right, I'm going to look at 5EC again. This is the interview with his secretary, Billy. Billy says... where the fuck does he say it? Mr. Allen asked me to put the SP number 10A folder in his briefcase. It surprised me because I was not aware of an appointment with Captain Egan. When we open the briefcase, it contains... files marked S87V and MB-C. It does not contain SP number 10A. So, it appears, based on the evidence that we have, it appears that his wallet was stolen or emptied. His watch was stolen. His briefcase was opened, and papers were stolen from it, but his ring was not stolen. So somebody opened his briefcase who was not genuinely interested in robbing him, who was interested in the papers that they stole, and then other stuff was stolen to make it look like he had been robbed. ruby ring, gold wedding band, keychain with keys, empty wallet. Oh no. Oh no, wait. Wait, hold on. Sorry. I'm sorry. I got that half backwards. Okay, all right. So only the briefcase only contained papers. The envelope was the effects found with the body, and that includes a ruby ring, a gold wedding band, a keychain with keys, an empty wallet, small notebook, and note. So whoever the thief was, they failed to steal his ruby ring and wedding band, which is not totally impossible, but wait, Archduke, what the fuck? Archduke is saying that in his copy of this book, SP number 10A is listed in among the contents of the briefcase. Coco Kringle, thank you for hanging out and chatting with us. Have a good night. So Archduke is looking at an edition of this game that was published in 1982. This one was published in, I want to say 1990. I don't have it right here with me. So it is mostly the same. It's not like a new version of the game. It's just a new printing. But yes, if there's something that was changed, it was probably changed because it was wrong in the earlier edition. Is what I would guess. Okay, so and also I guess they made substantial changes as well. I didn't realize that. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that this project had people spying on it. We could talk to Captain what's his name? Egan. We could talk to Captain Egan because he knows more about the project. He may or may not be willing to tell us about it, but I don't actually care about the project. He might be willing to tell us about who likely foreign governments, who would likely want to steal it, and what specifically they were going to discuss. We could talk to Lord Raglan, who is the senior vice president, who remains senior vice president, because he had discussed the matter with him after several strange people were seen hanging around the Deverell Street plant. That one seems pretty good to me. Okay, so I say we investigate business shit. The three things that I think are relevant are the new president who replaced him and was apparently like not friends, the persistently senior vice president who he discussed security matters with, or the admiral who, Captain Egan, who he was supposed to meet with and knows more about the project files that were stolen. I vote the security guy, the senior vice president, Raglan. Jet lag makes a point that if they broke into the briefcase, did they then lock it again? But it seems like they've stolen the brief. There's not a briefcase key on the body. That's a really good point. There's no briefcase key on the body. So, yeah, right? Oh, the key was on the watch fob. Right. Was the key... key was on the watch chain that was stolen. Okay. Well, that's another reason why that might have been stolen, right? If it was attached to the key and they took the key. Yeah, you are 100% right. Courtney kept the key on a chain attached to his watch fob. The watch, of course, was stolen. So, they did steal the key. Hey, Jason. Wait, do you have... Oh, shit, there's a Google Doc of notes? I'm so into this, guys. Oh, my God. Yes, 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 yes. You're wonderful. You're all wonderful. Okay. This is pretty exhaustive, too. Rad. Anybody have opinions about where we should go next? While I am looking up Captain Egan's address. No, not Captain Egan. It was Raglan. Raglan. I wanted to look up Raglan's. Because that is where I think we should go. PQR... Raglan, Lord Henry, 56 Southwest. No, jet lag, you're fantastic. Okay, Stables. Stables, Jason, is absolutely an option. So there are a bunch of, like generically helpful places, and that include, like, the coroner, the police, to get sort of, like, details of the investigation, various libraries and archives, and lawyers, also a tavern, a couple of journalists, Mycroft, who can talk about government shit, and actually would be a pretty good lead to follow in this case, society columnist, and a cab driver place, carriage stables. So that is totally 100% an option. Some leads are redirects. The person you were looking for is not here, but at some other address. We chose not to count these for our lead count. This is a house rule that Kyla is suggesting, or Kyla has employed in the past. 100% agree with this. Whiffed leads still count as cab ride, and saving cab fare is the whole goal, right? No, I think we are... I guess we are sending Holmes and Watson off on these things. I don't know. I completely agree with that. Okay, so Stables. We've got a vote for Stables from Jason. I was going to say Egan. This is Demeter's Winter. I was going to say Egan because he knows the project, but we don't care about the project. We care about the spies. So yeah, Raglan probably. That's my thought process. I agree with that. All right, let's do it. Let's do Raglan. I forget what I just said his address was. Raglan, Lord Henry, 56th Southwest. Southwest. 56 Southwest. Just get a press pass and ride for free, Laura Poe style. 100% accurate, yes. 56, and like a fake one too. 56 Southwest. Lord Raglan's man, Bunting, admits us to the residence, and I thought it said he admits to the crime, but no. Admits us to the residence and shows us into the study to wait. We are almost as impressed by Lord Raglan's establishment as we are with Lord Raglan himself when he arrives. At 30, he is the picture of the English gentleman, impeccably groomed, with a grace and style that at once attractive and forbidding. Damn. The introductions completed, he separates himself from us by walking to the other side of the desk. Seating himself, he asks us to begin. Before we can, however, he notices an envelope on the desk and immediately calls for Bunting. Drummond's has slipped up again. See that this is posted immediately. Excuse me, gentlemen. Debit where credit should be, or some such. Please begin. Huh. Okay. On the night of Mr. Allen's murder, he had an appointment with Captain Egan. Yes, the purchasing officer for naval ordnance at the Admiralty. We were working on a secret project for the Admiralty, and Courtney was concerned about one of the engineers, Richard Camp, being a security risk. We discussed it that morning. I gave no credence to the idea. Lord Raglan pauses to reach into a small silver box. From it, he draws forth a cigarette, which has a B&H printed on it in gold leaf. Uh-oh. He inserts it into an ebony cigarette holder, lights it, and leans back. Without our prompting, he continues. No, Camp is a fine fellow. But as a concession to Egan, I removed him from the project and assigned him elsewhere. Tragic, Courtney's death. To think that I had intended to stop by the offices that evening, but was forced to work late at the plant. If I had, perhaps the thief would have thought twice before tackling two of us. Were you disappointed about not being named president? You were, after all, senior vice president. Not a bit of it. I am quite happy in my work in the technical areas. Administrative matters do not interest me. Besides, one of Marlowe's conditions for employment was that he succeeds Courtney when Courtney retired. Of course, that would not have been for many years. Thank you, Lord Raglan. So it is super convenient that this dude, first off, just kind of like waves aside the possibility that this guy that Courtney was suspicious of is any kind of a spy. He says, like, because that would be, like, conceivably, we can paint a picture right here, right? Like, we can put together our murder board. Raglan, senior vice president of the company, deals in secrets, is selling company secrets, or like some such, to foreign powers. Employs this dude, Camp, Richard Camp, as a spy of some sort. Courtney becomes suspicious of the whole deal. Camp and then eventually Raglan. Raglan murders him in order to douse that suspicion. And remains exactly where he was, where he wanted to be, in a position of power at the company where he can sell secrets, but isn't responsible for everything. So he sort of dismisses that notion that Richard Camp is any kind of a security threat, and also offers a potential alibi, like a very potentially self-serving interview, I feel like. Verboten would be a German princess aesthetic. Agreed. Yeah, this dude. I don't know how to, like, I'm not sure how to investigate this further. I guess we check out his alibi by going to the Dunlop plant. Is that what it was called? Forced to work late at the plant. The plant is, I don't know. We got it in the last interview. I think it was Dunlop. Something like that. So we could do that. We could talk to this Richard Camp fellow and see what he has to say. This was 56 Southwest. Raglan. I think at this point I'm tempted to go to the plant and see if the alibi checks out, because if it doesn't, that's a case right there. Let me just look up the name of the plant again. 5EC. Deverell Street plant. Oh, jet lag, you're ahead of me. Thank you. Yeah, that's where I should be looking at the notes file. Let's see. Gunsmiths. Not gunsmiths. I want like factories. But that is not a thing. Here are the categories that I have. Auction houses, banks, barristers, baths, boarding houses, booksellers, booksellers used and rare, carpets, charities, chemists, churches, cocoa manufacturers, coroner's office, cycles, dentists, department stores, detective agencies, docks, doctors, embassies, furriers, government offices, guides. I don't know what that means. Gunsmiths, hospitals, hotels, inns of court, insurance companies, jewelers, libraries, map sellers, music halls, newspapers, parks, pawnbrokers, police stations, post offices, printers, public houses, restaurants, settlement houses, shoemakers, and solicitors. Oh, and then also Somerset House, public houses, stables, stationers, stations, steamship companies, synagogues, tailors, tea merchants, tea rooms, theaters, tobacconists, watchmakers, and wine merchants. None of those are factories. So we know that it's on Deverell Street. I wonder if we can just find that on the map. Like, that sounds like a nightmare. Yeah, Demeter's Winter, we don't actually know that the cigarette was from the murderer. It's possible that it was from, what's his name? From Courtney himself. Oh, I should take a break. Oh, we're just going to do a micro. We're just going to do this real fast. Just for the sake of editing.